Ladies and gentlemen, Borinqueneer Colonel Manuel Siviero.
Oh, get your okay. I do that all the time.
Mr. Speaker of the House, honorable members of Congress, fellow Borinqueneers, friends, thank you for the honor of allowing me to join this assembly of distinguished members of Congress to represent the 65th Infantry Regiment, also known as the Borinqueneers, for which I was part. On behalf of the men who were members of the regiment, it is a distinct privilege for me to receive this highly prestigious award, the Congressional Gold Medal. It is a well-deserved tribute to the brave men that fought many hard battles in Korea, those who survived, as well as those who lost their lives in combat. Their devotion to duty and many acts of valor against the enemy demonstrated their skills and their loyalty to the United States. General William Harris, a former commander of the 65th Infantry Regiment in combat in the early part of the Korean War, expressed it best when he said, and I quote, "No group has greater pride in itself and its heritage than the Puerto Rican people." Nor have I encountered any that could be more dedicated in support of the democratic principles for which the United States stands. I accept this medal in the name of all living Borinqueneers, the families of those who lost their loved ones, the families of over 100 missing in action and whose remains have not been recovered. Thank you again for remembering us, the 65th Infantry Regiment, for our dedicated effort and our extreme sacrifice in many cases in battles against the enemy. God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Resident Commissioner from Puerto Rico, the Honorable Pedro Peluisi.
The U.S. territory of Puerto Rico faces enormous challenges. It has been difficult for my constituents and I to see the island we love suffer. And it is easy to lose spirit as the good name of your home is tarnished, too often associated with the negative rather than the positive. That is why, even though the Korean War ended 60 years ago, today's ceremony could not be more timely. The American soldiers from Puerto Rico who formed the core of the 65th Infantry Regiment remind the public of the extraordinary contributions that Puerto Rico has made to this country since 1898, in times of both war and peace. The Borinqueneers remind me, and the 3.5 million U.S. citizens I represent, why we're so proud to be Puerto Rican at a time when our sense of pride has been shaken but never, ever shattered. We should draw strength and inspiration from their legacy and emulate their example. After all, this band of brothers overcame adversity of the most extreme sort, fighting the enemy on the front lines of the battlefield while also fighting discrimination back in the barracks. These warriors may have spoken English with an accent, but their service and sacrifice were universally understood. The men of the 65th Infantry Regiment, many of whom are here today, but many more of whom did not live to enjoy this glorious moment, represent the human spirit at its best. Brave, tough, devoted to their duty and to each other. Puerto Rico has always had this nation's back in times of crisis. It takes a special kind of patriotism to fight for a country that you love, but one that does not treat you equally. To the Borinqueneers, those who are leaving and those who have left us, I want to simply say thank you. Gracias por su dedicación y sacrificio, por poner el nombre de Puerto Rico en alto y por el servicio digno a los Estados Unidos de América. God bless the Borinqueneers and the United States of America.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, the Honorable Paul D. Ryan.
When you start learning about the Borinqueneers and their history, the question that keeps coming to mind is, would you fight for a country that discriminated against you? Would you fight in an army that puts you in a segregated unit? And would you fight without any guarantee that one day, way down the line, your country would finally recognize your service? Because these men, they did that. It takes a certain caliber of man to do that. I recently heard a story that makes this point beautifully. It's about one of the men I mentioned earlier, John Palese. He was a doctor serving in Korea. One day, a Korean couple came to his aid station with a very, very sick baby. He had a severe case of pneumonia. Well, there was this new wonder drug called penicillin that John knew, he knew that it would save the boy. But there were strict rules about its use. You were supposed to give it to American soldiers and American soldiers only. John later said, I just could not simply let that baby die. And so he gave their son an injection. 6 weeks later, the couple came to visit John at his aid station, now very, very far away from where he had originally met them, and thanked him for curing their son. In exchange, they offered him a big bag of chestnuts, and he gladly accepted. I tell you this story, just a simple story, because I think it illustrates what we admire in the Borinqueneers. They showed us that time again, courage does not know color, decency does not pick sides. These men did not fight to preserve the status quo. They fought to make their country better, and they succeeded. Their decency was so plain, their courage very obvious, that now the whole country has honored them for their valor. The story of the 65th Infantry Regiment is full of heroism and sacrifice. And with this medal, the Borinqueneers, we are weaving that story into this fabric of American history. And now that history is so the much brighter for it. Thank you.